Welcome to week 2 of Principles of Adult Education. As we come into this week, are going to, of course, enter our textbook and look at Chapter 1, Adult Learning in Today's World. We're going to talk about the convergence of globalization, technology, and demographics, which all are very much changing, and I'm sure you've all felt this and very much understand it. So we're going to talk about the convergence of those three areas, and I anticipate that if you haven't already read Chapter 1, that you are in for a few surprises, and so we'll talk about those. You'll also learn who are adult learners. And recognize that this is a debate, that not everyone agrees on a definition of an adult learner, and not everyone agrees that all of the characteristics that describe or can describe an adult learner are the characteristics. So that remains in the adult learning world a significant debate. So if you're looking for a topic in your in the area of your individual project, and you're thinking that you would like to have one of the trends of today's current topics, that might be one for you. So we've got a number of different supplemental websites and readings for today, or for this week, and an activity that is going to take us into looking at what constitutes formal, non-formal, and informal learning. Let me define these three terms, which are very important, and they're going to extend beyond just this week, because they will also inform your Day of Lifelong Learning, which is another project. If you look up here, Day of Lifelong Learning Instructions and the Day of Lifelong Learning rubric, you will find that these three constructs are very important. So, formal learning. What specifically is formal learning? Well, it's what we're doing right now. It's learning in an institution for a degree, and it is learning with a syllabus and a lot of structure, and you will be graded, and evaluated and graded on it. Non-formal learning also has structure, but it is typically a non-degree seeking kind of activity. For example, you might have to maintain a certification for some aspect of your profession, and so you might go to trainings that are structured. They do have a syllabus or an agenda that you follow closely. You may be evaluated, but there's no grade, and it is not for degree. That's non-formal learning. I might even consider the Pimsleur's structured foreign language learning as non-formal learning if it's followed in that way. I don't do it that way. I'm studying Spanish, and I would put quotations around studying. There are times when I am rigorously studying Spanish every day and make a concerted effort, and there are times when even a month will go by and I haven't listened to a tape on the next topic, and so don't move ahead. But if I follow the structure that's laid out, there is a syllabus. If I follow the structure that's laid out, it could be construed as non-formal learning. But I would add that you are somehow required to stay consistent with that structure. Otherwise, it's informal, self-directed learning. There are two forms of informal learning. There's self-directed learning, where you decide you want to learn something, and so you pursue that. For example, you might have your 8-year-old come up and say, Mommy or Daddy, I don't have a soccer coach and I really want to play soccer. If I have a soccer coach, if someone volunteers to be the soccer coach, then our team will be formed and I can play soccer. And you think, oh my goodness, I guess I should be the soccer coach, but I don't know enough about soccer. I guess I do for third graders, for 8-year-olds, but I'm going to have to still do some studying. So now you may Google soccer rules or soccer techniques for third graders or 8-year-olds, and you might do some informal learning. You could also attend, if there's a training for new coaches, that would be non-formal training. But doing it on your own is informal, self-directed learning. There's another kind of informal learning. That kind of learning is incidental learning. And so, for example, you might learn as you are pursuing your soccer coaching that 8-year-olds like to have characters used in order for them to feel like they are engaged in the learning, and that's something you may have not known before. Characters like superheroes and so forth. So you may incorporate that in your training of the children. That was something you weren't pursuing. It was something that was incidental in your learning, but you attended to it, and so you did learn it. So 2 forms of informal learning, self-directed and incidental. Formal learning, what did we say about formal learning? It's degree seeking, and this is our definition. Notice that there are definitions that stray from this and are different definitions. We're going to use this definition for our Day of Lifelong Learning project. Non-formal is what? It's trainings. It might be Dutch oven cooking in the evenings. It might be all kinds of different things. Certifications. So 4 degree, not 4 degree, but structured, self-directed, or incidental. Okay, so now let's take a look at our framework. We've talked about the confluence of 3 streams: demographics, globalization, and technology. So I'll let you go ahead and take a look at the PowerPoint we have for this week on that topic. After you have looked at the PowerPoint, then go ahead and go to your weekly activity. The weekly activity is for this week going to have to do with, and it doesn't look like it's necessarily posted there. We'll look at it in just a moment, but do recognize that, upload, describe examples of formal, non-formal, and informal learning for your group forum, and describe that activity in a minimum of 5 sentences. That's due on Thursday. Every activity is going to be due on Thursday, and then your reaction to 2 of your classmates' activities will be due by Sunday, and your reactions should be thoughtful. They should be challenging even. Ask your classmates questions about what they posted as their examples of formal, non-formal, and informal learning. So make this a conversation, not simply doing the minimum. Make it a conversation so that you are learning from each other. We also have a project that's coming up. That's our Day of Lifelong Learning. It is due February 22nd. So that's the last day to post it. It is worth 10 points. And we'll look again before we end our last week this week on where the Day of Lifelong Learning is and where the rubric is. Okay, knowledge check. Knowledge check was the syllabus quiz, and I closed it. I had obviously, I know that 19 of you had taken it already, and I apologize for having a question that was particularly challenging because it didn't pertain to this class. Some of you who were in that class knew the answer, but it isn't part of this class, and I don't know exactly why I got that question in this knowledge check. So I will do better next time. The next one will be coming up for chapters 1 through 3, and that will be due on February 8th, so we'll be seeing that shortly. All right then, let's go back to our class, and again, the Day of Lifelong Learning, and let's take a look at the instructions. Day of Lifelong Learning. So that takes us down to where we can look at the instructions, and the Day of Lifelong Learning instructions. Let's open this. Oh, that's a description. I'm actually going to go with the instructions. So, our Day of Lifelong Learning instructions. So the Day of Lifelong Learning, and again, the Day of Lifelong Learning is due on February 22nd. This is a 1-hour period in which you will focus on adult learning and teaching and learning in any aspect of it. You'll keep a time log, and that you can do any way you wish. There are people who prefer to use Word, other people who prefer to use Excel. You do it the way you wish to do it. You can use PowerPoint, you can use whatever. As long as I can read it, you can use whatever software you find most convenient. Note, not everything is teaching and learning. If you're in your shower and singing, I'm thinking that's not learning. So think about, it might not even be learning if you're listening to background music. So think about what you're learning and whether it's teaching or learning during your Day of Lifelong Learning. Note when you are the teacher and when you are the learner. Indicate whether it's formal, non-formal, or informal, and here are the very same definitions that we talked about just a moment ago. So then answer this question: what do you now think about adult education and lifelong learning? You're going to post your logs in 2 areas. You're going to submit them for evaluation. Also check your rubric to be sure that that you've not missed anything. And then you are going to post it for discussion, and the discussion for the Day of Lifelong Learning is the 22nd. So, Day of Lifelong Learning, that's that project. Oops, let's cancel that. Okay. All right, so now let's go back to our class. And there are a number of supplements for you. Most of them are various websites that are either, in this case it's a YouTube video, in the others they're interactive websites that you will learn about globalization and or about changing demographics. Let's get started. Welcome again to Principles of Adult Education, and this is week 2.